Just perhaps your reflections on last week and what you need to build on going into the Dragons game.
No different to what we spoke about after the game, really. I think that there were areas of our game that we were disappointed with, where we can be much cleaner and better. Obviously, we know that Glasgow's got a good maul, but when we've looked at it, there's certain areas where we were probably not happy with what we delivered, irrespective of how good they were. So, yeah, we've definitely had a little bit of a touch up and focus on that, for sure. And look, when the stats come out, our own stats that we do, the contest reflected virtually mirror image of himself. It was going to be who was in front when the whistle went. So from that point of view, there's not too much to worry about in relation to a lot of specifics. It's a lot of little things, and that's part of rugby and a part of getting better. So yeah, we had a couple of big bits and pieces like we've just mentioned, around breakdown and the rolling maul. But outside of that, it's just us being us and us being better at being us.
The Dragons, since you've been the Ospreys, mixed results at Rodney Parade. How would you assess taking a team there, and what sort of challenge is it?
Yeah, I think it's a tough place to go. I think opposition grounds per se are a tough places to go. Every coach is going to tell you that. As you say, it depends on if you look at the nature of the contests and bits and pieces. So I think that we know that they're coming off a disappointing result. It's a Welsh derby. There's plenty of emotions kicking around. So the first thing you have to do is be in the contest from an emotional point of view, for sure. And that's reflected in your fan base, your players and everything. But you still need to be clear about what you're trying to do. And that's, the number one thing. And then in derbies, often lots of emotion, which means there's lots of mistakes and as can be a bit of a scrappy affair. You've got to maintain your concentration and focus and be good at your basics. So I think that, those things are the building blocks of a performance against any Welsh opposition. It'll be the same against the Scarlets the week after. And those things are the fundamentals and the building blocks of your performance.
You brought some of your internationals back last week, most of them. I think Jack Morgan wasn't involved. Is he going to be involved this weekend, do you think? I've seen pictures of him in training as well.
Have you? You've been watching us in training, have you?
No. Just on your social media, your excellent social media channels, Toby.
Oh, yeah. So Harrison's just nodding in the background behind him. He has nothing to do with it. So, no, it's, Jack's around. Sam Parry as well. Which is great, having him back around. Gar Tom as well. So yeah, we're from a fitness point of view, those boys are all fit and raring to go. So we're excited to see them around.
Just with Jack, Toby, you spoke a couple of weeks ago. Just he's such an emotional Wales captain, World Cup, lots of rugby, played a lot of rugby, but physically and emotionally and mentally. I mean, how important is that? It's a long season still now that you sort of bring him in, and the expectations that he is the Wales captain.
Yeah, well, I mean, our job is to perform well, okay, and have an engaged group that wants to perform well, and part of that is making sure that people are physically and mentally able to do so. It's not just Jack; it's the same for everyone. Sometimes your hands forced a little bit, from an injury point of view, but while you've got the opportunity to protect players from themselves a little bit, certainly in Jack's case, where they want to do more and more, it's important that we get them mentally fresh. It's the first time he's been in a World Cup. It's the first time that he's had to learn. It's a long time ago since he started using Ospreys calls, for example, over Welsh calls, so it's a different language to relearn, and a new experience for him. For people like George North and Justin Tipuric and Adam Beard, it's old money. They're used to doing that sort of stuff. So there's lots of those little nuances for everyone. But I think he'll be good for the week, and that means that that extra week, and that means that he can hit the ground running and be the player that he knows he wants to be, because he sets his standards at a level now as an international and a Welsh captain that that he wants to adhere to. So we have to create an environment which allows him to do that, for sure.
Anybody else back? Anybody who was out from the weekend? How are you looking?
Well, we've moved away from if you've got boots, you're playing. this week, which is good. So we've got those the boys that we've mentioned there are around, and also our cheaters contingent are obviously a week further down the track. So that probably gives us an opportunity to involve some of them if need be as well.
Just one. How's Alex Cuthbert?
Yeah, he's not training. He had a setback, which was disappointing. So we're taking it sort of one day, 1 week at a time with Cuthie. It's very frustrated, but again, he's turned the corner again, which is good. But we feel for him because we miss having him around for sure.
And final one for me, Toby. I'm asking all the regional coaches this. There's been some obviously bad headlines about Welsh rugby this week. Just that it's not directly involved with the regions or anything, but I just thought, somebody involved with Welsh rugby, when you read and see that, which everyone will have, what is the sort of general perception?
Well, you've seen the statement, and everyone, it's far from ideal, but we've now got it into the open and it's out there. It's what happens next. Really, it's about how we act on that information and how we protect everybody, and I mean everybody, from not being in that position again.
And that statement, obviously, you're all going up against each other in local derbies on the field and everything like that. But that statement seemed one of unification. You all wrote in as you all singing from the same hymn sheet in with regards to that and the relationship with the WRU.
Yeah, I think, look, for years, there's always been that parochial element to it all, and the silos and all that sort of stuff, and that's not worked out too well, has it? So why don't we give something new a chance and collaborate better and be part of something? We're certainly on the rugby the rugby side, having to collaborate, as you know, from a playing resource point of view and a preparation point of view, and it's an extension of that. And we all want the same thing. We've just got to keep streamlining and finalising and working towards how we can be, doing that better, doing that consistently. Because, as I said at the start, we want to try and get to the same goal.
2 Welsh derbies in a row is great for the fans, and I'm sure great for the team. But more importantly, it's 2 teams below you in the table, which really gives you the chance to rocket up into that top 8. You're close to it. Is that in your thinking at all?
Not really. Well, I think if coaches always talk about one game at a time, and as boring it is for you guys reporting on it, I understand the question. I prefer to work under the table doesn't lie, and at the end you end up where you end up. So I understand that there's plenty of chapters in, if you like, before you get to that point. So look, we understand how important the Welsh derbies are, because it's a chance where we're going up against people with similar resources issues and whatever. So it's a good comparison. And let's not underestimate how important it is for bragging rights for your supporters, because the reason we love sport is for the competitive element. I spoke last week after the game. I thought the atmosphere in the stadium was really, really good. It was probably generated a little bit by some of the perceived refereeing decisions that have gone on, which united a crowd. But I don't care how we get there, but we had a good atmosphere, so we enjoyed that. And look, we understand that Welsh derbies generate that. It's an opportunity in a league that requires a lot of travel, where your local support can come and watch you. So, home and away, it's important to play well and perform well, and it's important to win.
Yeah, it's important to win, but maybe it's also important for Welsh fans to see an occasion that is worthy of the points for the team too. We all need a bit of a lift, and these two games give you that opportunity, don't they, to showcase the talent, and hopefully not just be a dour bloody affair.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, Rob, there's all sort of layers to that conversation. I'd like this to be played in June, but I want to play rugby in the summer, but that's a different story. But from that point of view, I know that we will certainly carry on trying to score tries like you've seen us do this year, without doubt. And we don't mind where they come from. We just want to score them. And as you've seen, we've improved defensively. I know it obviously got away from us a little bit in certain areas of the pitch last week, but, I think we're seeing a more consistent attitude towards that side of the game. And look, we make our aim every year is to get into the playoffs. So the more you win, the better your chances. So, yeah, that's our aim. And, talk about the positives and what we can do rather than our inability to do what we can't.
you'd probably have a bit of sympathy for Di Flanagan, who's going through a tough time at the moment, and just had Paul Turner come in to help him. Do you think that's a good message to be sending to a young coach? And does a young coach need all the help he can get?
Well, you don't want the dreaded, you got the back end of the board 2 weeks later, you're gone. You don't ever want that. No, for sure. That's the analogy of in the football parlance. But look, I think that I've got to know Di a bit better. Well, one thing I can say, I think he's a really, really good human being that is a good coach. A lot of the players talk to me about that, and I think that when you make that elevation from a position of being an assistant coach to a head coach, like I had to do at London Irish, sometimes you rely on a lot of instincts. So having people that around you can trust and give you insight is great. But the alignment and the sensitivity around having externals come in is difficult, because without doubt you can become defensive around that if it's not handled well, not clear on what their roles are. So even though it's done with positive intent, it can create a little bit of confusion. So from my perspective, I think that it's fine. It's fine for something to happen, and there'll be reasons and justifications on whether you do and whether you don't. But we're only in game 5. So I don't think you've got anything, people to worry about it. And, they've been competitive. They've been aligned. There's been a distorted start to the season. All the perfect storm elements around for us all, not just for Di, for Dwayne, myself, Jockey. It's difficult for everyone. So, there's no manual for this sort of stuff. And ultimately, like a player playing in a position for the first time, like a 10, for example, playing at, in the competition above URC for the first time. It's all around time in the saddle. You need time in the saddle and understand what's happening, see the wood for the trees, reflect, and ultimately, if you've got good processes and good people, eventually you'll be successful. It depends on what success looks like and the expectation that falls around it. So I think that, I've had this done to me and it spectacularly backfired. Spectacularly. So, I'm probably not the right person to ask in this instance, but there is a place for having mentorship. I have mentors. Well, Kevin Bowring, for example, has been my coach mentor for most of my career. I have a mentor outside of rugby as well, because they can give you insight without any prejudice. And I think that having those, we don't know what we don't know, and helping shine a torch on things that you might want to do, the choice is still yours. So, yeah, that's a balancing act for sure.
So if you've had as many clubs as Arnold Palmer or Gary Player, Paul Turner's probably got twice as many. Have you come across him? Have you worked with him?
Yeah. I've played against him. That's how old I am. So, I know Paul. Paul's a good man and a funny guy. So, look, I'm sure there's nothing untoward in that. It's all done with positive intent, and I hope for Di's sake, as a young head coach, that he gets the support around him. And, Tommy's certainly got the experience to help him out.
Back on the field, some good matchups. You've got Wainwright going up against Tipperick, Morris and Jack Morgan. You've got Ben Carter, one of the tries luck against Adam Beard, and you've got the hookers having been sort of international mates. I mean, will that add a little bit of extra spice?
I think it always does, doesn't it? There's under the red shirt, then everyone's all in it together, but as soon as it separates out, then it becomes back to bragging rights and pecking orders. So from that point of view, yeah, you're always trying to send a message, because you want your team, your region to be successful. And also, it probably helps you internationally if you're in that sort of arena too.
Right, so you're facing a side itching to get running this weekend in the Dragons, having lost all 4 their URC fixtures. Does that make them a trickier proposition to face in terms of having something a bit more to prove this weekend?
I think that Welsh derbies per se are very difficult anyway, because of the emotional element to it, for all the stuff we've already talked about. And I won't go back over that again, for the sake of being out of here by 11 o'clock for everyone. So, look, I think that you've always got something to prove. you've always, you've got everyone at personal pride is certainly something that, a very powerful motivator for sure. As I said, without looking at the nature of the contests and bits and pieces, no one goes out with the view to, right, we're going to be this or that. However, there are certain key games which you can target to springboard and get your season back on track. If I give a football example, you look at, say, Everton, for example, they'll always target, a local derby to get emotionally ready. And from that, even though it doesn't go well, there's enough in it in order to turn the corner and start performing better. So I think that, and I'm obviously not in that situation, and not been in that situation, but in this example, I think that if you win a local derby, then all of a sudden that's a massive springboard of emotion that allows you to then kickstart the bits about fragmented pre-seasons and not having player availability soon start to disappear, because now you're preparing from a winning position over a losing one.
And last weekend, really, you were so close to really producing a victory against a strong Glasgow side as such, and expected to probably be in the mix come the end again. Despite defeat and disappointment that comes with that, how much confidence does that really give your young group of players?
Yeah, I think that, and they're both as a team and an experience, but also in some of the little moments, we made a lot of good decisions under high pressure, which is good for them. And there was a couple of decisions we made under high pressure that weren't so good. That's the game, right? But however, now being through that, those younger players you talk about will be better for it. And just that one control of emotion, that one deliberate action can, in the very tightest of the games, be the difference. So I think that there's a lot of learning, and we see losses and wins, especially losses. You learn more. Every coach will taught you learn more from a loss, but individually you do as well. And you see, we've got to see the opportunity as a chance to get better and a chance for learning. That's what we spoke about. I spoke to you guys after the game, and it's no different now, and that will always be the case. And our attitude to disappointment should fuel us with the enthusiasm to not feel it again and not want to be there, but also look, there's a great learning opportunity here for us.
And really, that kind of gets onto my next one, really. It's about, you've got a full quota back now this week. Would you say it's almost been a bit of a blessing in disguise, really, to see the emergence of some of these young talents coming through in the international players' absence?
It's a good question. I think it's something that I was probably mindful of in my inception, a few seasons ago coming here. And the opportunity then was born out of, well, we're at the bottom. We've only won 2 games in the whole year. And we've got the positive attitude to change, and and that change can look different on style and play and selection and bits and pieces. But one of the things that I hope in my Ospreys obituary when it comes out will be around, I've always wanted to produce young players and give players an opportunity. And in that, I think of Morgan Morris, Dowie Lake, Kieran Williams, Ruben, for example, obviously went and recruited like that, Jack Morgan, etc., and Will Griff, Rhys Davis, Matt Provorou, Max Nagy, etc., etc. So from our point of view, I think it's definitely been a central part of what we're trying to do here. And I make no apologies for the fact that they give you an emotional connection to the region. They give you an emotional response because they're young and energetic. And as a result, your team can perform more consistently, and I think that will always continue to be part of my thinking all the time. I'm at the Ospreys, as you say, the experience that you pick up on the way, because of whether that's opportunity that they've earned or opportunity that's been given to them because of situations, that for me is irrelevant. And if you're good enough, that's all good. That's all good.
Going back to Jack Morgan, obviously he's had quite a learning experience over this summer with the World Cup. Have you noticed a difference in him since he's come back?
I've not seen him. I've only seen him for 4 days. No, I've been in contact with Jack throughout, really, and you're always there to offer support, even if it's, as I said, almost like in that mentoring element about that I was talking about, coach mentors, right? So from that point of view, it's a situation where you find yourself, living and learning on the job a little bit, but he'll be better for it. He just needs the time to take a breath to understand what's happened and reflect of actually, I'm more confident in that arena. I'm used to dealing with referees. I'm used to dealing with the pressure. I'm used to dealing with high profile decisions, and it becomes normal. The reason we're the most successful organism on the planet is because we adapt to our surroundings really quickly. So, the more experience we have, the better for him.
And you mentioned last week that Max Nagy, someone who could potentially be Welsh qualified. Is there any clarity on when that could be? Obviously, it's complicated by the university status, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I saw that Wales Online picked up on that and bits and pieces. Look, we think it's sooner rather than later, to be fair, and and I'm sure Warren and everyone wants as many resources to their disposal as possible. So I think that if we can, and they're not just Max, there'll be a number of players in that situation, I'm sure, throughout the Welsh playing universe. So the more resources we get, the better chance Wales have got of building strength in depth, for sure.